What if I told you that for most of your life you've been using food for the wrong purpose? You've been using it for survival, when you could be using it for ascension. We live in a world that's absolutely obsessed with food. 3 meals a day, plus snacks. We're constantly fueling, constantly grazing, and constantly thinking about our next meal. And yet, for all this consumption, there's a feeling that haunts modern society, a deep, profound lack of energy. We wake up tired, we walk through our days in a mental fog, we feel sluggish and spiritually disconnected, all while eating more than any generation before us. We've been sold a simple story: food is fuel, feel tired, eat more, feel weak, eat more. But the ancient yogis of India had a radically different and far more sophisticated idea. They saw that the problem wasn't a lack of fuel. The problem was a fundamental misdirection of our own inner energy. They discovered a secret, a kind of spiritual technology that could turn the simple act of eating from a biological chore into a powerful catalyst for awakening a higher state of consciousness. This isn't another diet plan. It's a method for transmuting energy. It's a way to reclaim the vast reservoirs of power that your own body is using against you every single day. And once you grasp this principle, your relationship with food and with your own energy will never be the same. Let's be honest, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Is it a feeling of vibrant energy and mental clarity, or do you have to drag yourself out of bed, propped up by caffeine, and push through a haze that only seems to lift for a few hours? For millions of us, the second one is just normal life. We live in an age of unbelievable abundance. Supermarkets are overflowing and you can get food delivered 24/7. Nutritional science has broken down every vitamin and mineral. We have more access to fuel than ever before, yet we are a generation defined by chronic fatigue, burnout, and a desperate search for more energy. So we try everything: energy drinks, endless coffee, complex supplements, fancy gadgets. We treat our bodies like a car with a leaky gas tank, constantly trying to top it off, wondering why the engine always sputters. The yogic sages would say we are looking in the completely wrong place. The problem isn't the fuel, the problem is the engine. More specifically, there's a single massive process inside you that's eating up the lion's share of your vital life force without you even realizing it. That process is digestion. Now, modern science might tell us that digestion only accounts for about 10% of our daily energy use, what's called the thermic effect of food. But the yogic view of energy is far more subtle. They weren't just measuring calories, they were observing prana, the very life force that animates you. Prana is the intelligence behind your heartbeat, the spark in your neurons, the subtle energy that makes awareness and spiritual experience possible. From this perspective, the constant, grinding work of digestion isn't some minor 10% task. It's a persistent drain on your vital prana. Just think about how you feel after a huge holiday meal: sleepy, lethargic, dull. Your body has to divert a massive amount of energy and blood flow away from your brain just to manage what you ate. Now, imagine a smaller but chronic version of that happening all day, every day. Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. The digestive system never truly gets a break. It's a factory that's always online, and it's consuming the very energy you need for clarity, creativity, and spiritual connection. This is the real energy crisis. We're not underfueled. We're profoundly inefficient. Our modern habits have turned our own biology into a system that perpetually drains our higher potential just to manage our lower functions. The yogis understood this thousands of years ago, and they engineered a solution of elegant, breathtaking simplicity. To get this solution, we need to upgrade our map of the human body. The yogis saw the body not just as bones and muscles, but as a vibrant, intricate network of energy. They observed that all its functions were governed by 5 primary bioenergies or winds known as the Panchavayus. For our purposes, we only need to focus on 2 of them, Prana Vayu and Apana Vayu. Think of them as 2 great currents flowing inside you, each with a very different job. Prana Vayu is the upward moving force. It's centered in your head, chest, and heart. It governs inhalation, your senses, your brain function, and all higher cognitive processes. Prana is the energy of life, vitality, and ascension. It's the force that pulls your awareness up toward higher consciousness. When your prana is strong, you feel alive, sharp, and connected. Apana Vayu, on the other hand, is the downward moving force. It's centered in the lower abdomen, and it governs all processes of elimination, excretion, urination, and crucially for us, the downward processing of food. Apana is the force of grounding and cleansing. It's the janitor of the body, taking out the trash, and it's absolutely essential for your physical health. In a balanced system, these 2 forces work in harmony. But in most of us, they're locked in a constant, invisible tug of war. Prana Vayu is trying to move your energy and awareness up, but Apana Vayu, which gets activated every single time you eat, is trying to pull that energy down. Every meal, every snack is a command to your body. Activate Apana. Pull energy down to the stomach and intestines. When you're eating 3, 4, or 5 times a day, you create a state where the downward pulling force is always dominant. It becomes the default setting. It's like trying to fly a hot air balloon while a dozen ropes are tethering you to the ground. The upward flowing prana, which is supposed to be illuminating your mind, is constantly being hijacked and dragged down into the dense mechanical work of digestion. This is the spiritual blockage the yogis were talking about. It's not some external demon, it's an internal, physiological process. Your potential for higher awareness is literally getting stuck in your gut, consumed by the breakdown of your last meal. The yogis realized that if they could just quiet this relentless downward pull, give Apana Vayu a much-needed vacation, then prana would be free to do what it naturally wants to do, rise. And that realization gave birth to one of the most powerful practices in all of yogic science. The solution is as simple as it is profound: dramatically reduce how often you eat. This idea is beautifully illustrated in a popular saying from yogic circles which classifies people into 3 types based on their eating habits. First, there's the rogi. The rogi is the sick person. They eat 4 or more times a day, constantly snacking and burdening their system. Their energy is perpetually consumed by the chaotic process of constant digestion, leaving them tired and prone to illness. Second, there's the bhogi. The bhogi is the enjoyer, the householder. They eat twice a day. This gives them enough energy to manage their worldly affairs, experience pleasure, and maintain good health. This is a huge improvement and is in fact a very balanced and powerful way to live. Many yogic communities like the Isha Yoga Center, founded by Sadhguru, recommend and practice eating 2 meals a day. But then there is the yogi. The yogi is someone whose primary focus is spiritual evolution. For certain advanced yogis on a highly dedicated path, the practice was to eat only once a day. This is sometimes called ek bhukta, which simply means one who has eaten. Why would they do this? Because the yogi sees every act of digestion as a tax on their spiritual potential. By minimizing this tax to a single efficient payment per day, they liberate an enormous surplus of prana. When you eat only once, the great tug of war between prana and apana stops. For 22 to 23 hours a day, the downward pulling force of apana goes dormant. There's no food to process. The ropes tethering the hot air balloon are cut. And then something amazing happens. Prana, the life-giving upward current, is free. It begins to rise, unimpeded, through the central energy channel of the body, a channel known in yoga as the Sushumna Nadi. Awakening this channel is one of the ultimate goals of yoga, something advanced practitioners work towards for decades using complex breathing techniques. Yet this practice achieves a similar effect, more gently. You're not forcing anything, you're simply creating the perfect internal quiet for prana to rise on its own. You're engineering liberation just by getting out of your own way. The body becomes light, the mind becomes still and sharp. The constant background noise of digestion fades away, and in its place a profound silence emerges. This is the state where intuition awakens and the body stops being a burden and becomes a finely tuned instrument for experiencing life. This journey of mastering inner energy is a personal one. So, if you've ever experimented with intermittent fasting, changing your meal frequency, or even just cutting out snacks, share your experience in the comments below. What did you notice? What were the challenges and the benefits? The collective wisdom of our community is a powerful tool for everyone on this path. Now, all this talk of prana, apana, and energy channels might sound like mystical poetry. For thousands of years, that's how it was seen, as the esoteric knowledge of reclusive mystics. But in the 21st century, something fascinating is happening. Modern science has begun to stumble upon the very same truths. They don't call it ek pukta, of course. They call it intermittent fasting, IF, or one meal a day, OMAD. And they're discovering that giving the body a long break from digestion triggers a cascade of profound healing effects. The most famous of these is a process called autophagy. It literally means self-eating. When you go for a while without food, your cells start a brilliant housekeeping program. They hunt down and consume old, damaged, dysfunctional parts, like misfolded proteins and worn-out components. This is the direct scientific parallel to the yogic concept of removing ama, or metabolic toxins. The yogis said frequent eating clogs the body's channels and creates disease. Science is now seeing this at a cellular level, showing how fasting states allow the body to literally clean house, reducing the risk factors for many chronic diseases. They call it cellular repair. The yogis called it purification. But it doesn't stop there. Studies in journals like the New England Journal of Medicine have shown that intermittent fasting can also reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and even trigger the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that helps grow new brain cells, improving memory and mood. The yogis describe the results of their practice as a body free of disease and a mind filled with clarity. Modern science is now providing the clinical language for these exact same benefits. What's more, ancient yogis and Ayurvedic doctors insisted that if one were to take a single meal, it should be around midday. They said this is when the digestive fire, or Jatharagni, is at its peak, just like the sun in the sky. Well, the field of chronobiology is now confirming this. Our metabolism is most efficient, and our bodies are best prepared to handle food around noon. Eating your main meal then and avoiding food late at night is simply aligning with your own biological clock. The language is different, but the wisdom is the same. Whether you call it balancing prana or optimizing your circadian rhythm, clearing ama, or inducing autophagy, the conclusion is inescapable. Giving your body a long daily rest from digestion unlocks a powerful, innate intelligence for healing and rejuvenation. The physical benefits are incredible, but for the yogi, they're just a positive side effect. The real goal isn't just a healthy body, it's fueling a spiritual process. So what happens to all that liberated prana? Where does that reclaimed energy actually go? According to yogic science, when the system becomes pure and prana rises freely, the body begins a subtle, alchemical process. It starts to cultivate a substance known as ojas. Ojas is often translated as vigor or vitality, but it's so much more. It's the most refined essence of your life energy. If prana is the flow of energy, ojas is the deep reservoir of that energy. It's your container for vitality. In Ayurveda, ojas is seen as the supreme byproduct of a perfect digestive process. This subtle physiology suggests that ojas is derived from the body's most essential reproductive fluid, shukra. A life of overindulgence, especially through constant digestion and excessive sexual activity, was said to deplete this essence and therefore deplete ojas. This leads to a weak immune system, a dull mind, and a lack of psychological resilience. Practices that quiet the system are powerful methods for cultivating ojas. First, by perfecting digestion, eating only when the digestive fire is strong. You ensure that food is converted into high-quality energy with minimal waste. More importantly, by freeing prana from the downward pull of apana, you create an upward-moving, energetic environment. This allows the body to refine its raw essences into the subtle energy of ojas. The energy is no longer being lost through lower functions. It's being refined and stored internally as spiritual power. When ojas is abundant, the effects are unmistakable. Physically, it shows up as a strong immune system and radiant skin, that yogic glow people talk about. But the effects on the mind are even more profound. Abundant ojas creates a deep sense of inner peace. It acts as a buffer against stress. The mind becomes calm, steady, and capable of deep concentration. There's a natural, effortless joy that bubbles up from within, no matter what's happening outside. This is the divine vitality that fuels the yogi's journey. This is the ultimate secret. Turning food into spiritual power is the art of eating in a way that creates a surplus of prana, which in turn allows the body to build its deepest reserves of spiritual energy, ojas. You're no longer just eating to live, you're eating to evolve. After hearing all this, you might be tempted to start eating one meal a day tomorrow. Please don't. This is a powerful practice, and it must be approached with intelligence and awareness. A sudden change can shock your system. The yogic path is not about being extreme, it's about yuktahara, an appropriate, well-regulated diet. This is a journey, not a light switch. So here is a practical step-by-step guide. Step 1. Eliminate snacking. This is the first and most important step for almost everyone. The goal is to create a clean gap of at least 4 to 5 hours between your meals. Eat 3 solid, nourishing meals with nothing in between except water or herbal tea. Do this for a few weeks until your body gets used to it. This alone will begin to stabilize your energy. Step 2. Transition to 2 meals. Once you're comfortable with no snacks, you can try moving to 2 meals a day. This is the state of the bhogi, the healthy householder. For the vast majority of people, this is the optimal and most sustainable way to eat for energy and well-being. Think of a substantial meal around midday and a lighter one in the evening. You will likely notice a huge increase in your energy and clarity just from this one change. For many, this is the perfect destination. Step 3. Experimenting with the yogi's meal. For those who are on a dedicated spiritual path, deeply engaged in practices like meditation and yoga, you might consider experimenting with 1 meal a day. This is not for everyone. It depends on your body, your lifestyle, and your society. If you try it, the meal should be eaten at midday when your digestive fire is strongest. It should be substantial and well balanced, providing all the nourishment you need. After this meal, you would consume only water until the next day. Step 4. Listen to your body. This is the most important rule of all. Yoga is about awareness, not dogma. Pay close attention to how you feel. If you feel consistently weak, dizzy, or if your mind becomes agitated and obsessed with food, then this practice is not serving you right now. It's far better to eat 2 meals a day with a peaceful mind than to eat 1 meal a day in a state of struggle. Be honest with yourself. The goal is liberation, not self-torture. We began with a simple idea that you've been using your food for the wrong purpose. The journey of the yogi is the journey from unconscious consumption to conscious energy management. It's the realization that everything you put in your body can either be a weight that pulls you down or a fuel for your ascension. This ancient secret isn't about depriving yourself. It's about elevating yourself. It's a strategic withdrawal of energy from a lower mechanical process so it can be reinvested in a higher conscious one. When you master this, you move from a life where your mood and focus are dictated by your last meal to a life where you are the master of your own stable internal state. You stop being a slave to your appetites and become the master of your own vitality. The ancient yogis saw the human body as the ultimate instrument, capable of perceiving incredible dimensions of existence. They understood that to play this instrument well, you first had to learn how to tune it. By consciously managing the energy of food, you perform that tuning. You stop using food merely for survival and begin to use it deliberately and powerfully for ascension.